had no intention of ending my days playing the role of meat in the arena. And then you blithely offered me an alliance after what I'd done to you. Why? That is true. But I'm not merely a hireling. It is strange you did not consider that when you offered me an alliance. But it does not matter. Ask your questions. I will decide which is worthy of an answer. The Draken is the first among the blades of the Kabal of the Reaving Tempest, and the Drukhari who stands but one rung below the Archon. The Draken leads raids and wages wars against other Kabals, keeps the arrogant true-born and half-born upstarts at bay, and has the pick of any opponent in any battle. Aezyrraesh used to have others in her inner circle, but I ensured that they all disappeared one by one, and that their successors were too terrified to take their place. That was when my sister engaged an incubi order to serve as her bodyguards. Incubi do not respond to fear or bribes. Must there be another reason beyond survival and ambition? Camorra does not tolerate weakness. Camorra respects only strength and cunning. Either you climb upward on the corpses of your enemies, or you become one of the steps underfoot. We shared the same blood, and we emerged into the world from the same womb. We were both true-born, and we both stood above the scum that comes from tubes and vials. Keep your arrogance in check. Aezyrraesh was clever and deadly, and if I had underestimated her abilities and strength, I would have been food for the Urguls long ago. The very fact that she surpassed me speaks for itself. I refused to give her cause to cast me out as a traitor. No, our rivalry, our little game that ran since our birth, took time. And another thing, when you're at the top, you need something to stave off boredom. This game amused us and terrorized the rest of the Kabal. The Kabal of the Black Heart is the most ancient of all the Kabals, and the largest. It casts a shadow over all Camorra, and when the Black Heart strikes, you submit or you die. The Reaving Tempest was not prepared to perish, so when the Black Heart's shadow stretched as far as us, Aezyrraesh's predecessors chose to bend the knee and become their vassals. Aezyrraesh never liked the Cabal's subordinate position. Her words, and sometimes her actions directed against the Black Heart, prompted whispers of discontent and fear among those who served her. I was not willing to renounce the protection of Aezyrraesh own Kabal. If I had succeeded in overthrowing Aezyrraesh with Marazhai's aid, many within the Reaving Tempest would have supported me. Tevantius was Aezyrraesh's ally, not mine. The Reaving Tempest is his patron, and patron also to the witches of the arena. I have had cause to seek out his artistry several times. and each time with difficulty. Of late, he's been gone from Camorra more often than he's been in it. He was probably in one of his lairs where he hides his other experiments and creations. After Tivantius quarreled with the witches and was stripped of the Cabal's protection, his havens in Camorra were turned into a deadly trap. I imagine they've been ransacked and destroyed by now. His other hideouts may be somewhere in the tangle of the webway, or in real space. But that last possibility is madness even for a homunculus. When the grotesque of a rival Cabal ripped my arm off at the shoulder, when I needed a substance to wring the truth out of you in the Obsidian Court, when I had personal desires that only a master of flesh could satisfy. You are just dying to know, aren't you? An amusing example of a primitive mind. Any Drukhari towers over any mon-keigh, and we do not conceal our attitude to livestock, but my Kabalite kin. Every one of them should be treated with caution, and those who have already demonstrated their power and might are a deadly threat in their own right. I do not revel in submission. I accept things as they are. And I wait until a point of weakness reveals itself and calls to my blade. It is a caste in Camorra. Noble Drukhari born under certain circumstances. Their cradle before birth was not an amniotic gestational tube, but a living womb. Carrying a fetus for such a lengthy term is as good as a death sentence for a female Drukhari. She is too vulnerable to her enemy's attacks, and she is of no use on a raid. In Camorra, only the most powerful Drukhari, who are able to surround themselves with the best protection, can allow themselves such an extravagance. Farkaza Aezyrraesh, poisoner of Azdrujar, and Shaimish's elect, was one such exalted leader of the Drukhari. The result was worth the effort. Eviscerator of Aezyrraesh, blaze of the Barkag kingdom, and slayer of Carocious the Pale. Aezyrraesh was a world inhabited by our distant Eldari cousins, until I led a reaping raid there. The Barkag kingdom was a separate cluster on the fringes of Camorra before it went to war with the Reaving Tempest, and by the time I left, I was wading through the blood of its inhabitants. And lastly, Carocious the Pale. He was an ancient homunculus who betrayed the Aezyrraesh at the behest of another Cabal. That was not a military victory, but a personal one. In his attempts to make himself invincible, Carocious had sown inside himself the deadliest creatures from the depths of Camorra. It did not save him. I cut out every one of his 8 hearts and sent them to his former coven as a warning to the rest. Are you sure? The Dark City is the bastion of the Drukhari, the most magnificent of all our strongholds. The Cabals, witch cults, and the incubi inhabit the place, with swarms of scourges flying overhead and a myriad of misfits and horrors, including the covens of the homunculi wallowing underfoot. Which do you want to know about? The Cabals are the foundation upon which rests the power of the one who rules Camorra, Aezyrraesh Vect. Whether it is a mob of berserkers or an organized cartel, their essence is the same. An army of killers, ready to ravage entire worlds at the behest of their leaders, or to rip out the throats of a neighboring cabal in a war declared by the Archons. What more do you need to know that you have not already beheld with your own eyes? They are the mistresses of the arenas, and they're the gladiators who feed the audience in their ravenous agony with exquisite spectacles. Cults often travel to real space on the Cabal's raids to revel in the pain and to capture fresh meat for their arenas. The aloof incubi. They dedicate their lives to the art of killing, so much so that they do not plot or chase after delicious torment. All their hatred and longing for suffering are channeled toward perfecting their skill. Winged Drukhari, who have chosen to go through an agonizing process to become such a monstrosity. They escort raiding ships and inflict the first strike on the enemy. In Camorra, these creatures huddled in flocks so that they do not fall victim to the more formidable of their kin. Artists of the flesh who prefer to hide away in their laboratories and create nightmares from the materials their servants supply. Engines of pain, grotesques, racks, all are the fruits of their subtle craft. Then what else do you need to know? What exactly do you want to know? In all ways, the Aezyrraesh are feeble shadows of our ancestors. We are their true inheritors. The Aezyrraesh hide from she who thirsts behind their paths, relying on the visions of their precious far-seers, or blind to the reality around them. We Drukhari laugh in the face of the unknown. We thrive off the carnage and pain we inflict. Because the ecstasy of suffering is the highest form of pleasure, accessible only to superior beings. By your very nature, creatures like you are incapable of knowing such gratification. Careful. My tolerance for such remarks will run out eventually, even given your depressingly simplistic mind and non-existent instinct for self-preservation. In all ways, the Aezyrraesh are feeble shadows of our ancestors. We are their true inheritors. The Aezyrraesh hide from she who thirsts behind their paths, relying on the visions of their precious far-seers, or blind to the reality around them. We Drukhari laugh in the face of the unknown. We thrive off the carnage and pain we inflict. Watch it. It is mon-keigh who run and hide, not our kin. Camorra is the legacy of our ancestors. They found a way to penetrate the tangle of the webway and move through its twisting labyrinths. Few would hazard to travel in this splintered kingdom, let alone erect bastions in it. The Drukhari are the only Eldari who do not fear the horrors of the webway. For every peril we overcome makes us stronger. No one speaks of the Overlord of Camorra without good reason. Amusing you is certainly not reason enough. Perhaps. What else? You granted me territory. Not the kind I'm used to, but more than enough to keep me occupied while this tub cuts through the veil. Your crew know which sector of the ship belongs to me, and apparently they have designated it a dumping ground for rule breakers. It does not matter. Their screams all sound the same. Since the first time, I've been slowly acclimatizing to voyaging through the veil. Only mon-keigh could have conceived of such a suicidal method of galactic travel. However, it is novel and exhilarating. At least now I know what I'm facing, and consequently, I will find a way to withstand it. And now it is time to learn what is happening with the Cabal of the Reaving Tempest, leaderless and abandoned to the mercies of Camorra. The survivors will probably be driven into real space to fall prey to Aezyrraesh. You must find them. If we encounter the remnants of the Cabal in this dimension, I will want to speak to them. Now that I've gained a foothold in real space, I must find a way to win back my Cabal. Aezyrraesh is dead, and the Reaving Tempest will be torn apart by Camorra. But if they allow themselves to be slaughtered, I will feel no particular pity for that worthless scum. Then go. I will find something to amuse myself with.